What's going on, guys, and welcome to, my initial reactions to the finale for Platinum Man. And my God, if it wasn't a finale, that ending is how you close out a series. What are my thoughts on Platinum Man as a whole now that it's closed out and now that it's finished? I like the series, but at times parts of it were just so boring. Classical rendition of heaven as just this holy place where everybody is just singing hymns for eternity, dressed in white and gold and all that stuff is just incredibly boring to me. Anyway, so the series is based on a God selection process where the current God has chosen a select few candidates to compete or reach an agreement as to who the next God will be. And in this finale, the candidates reach an agreement as to who the next God will be, and their selection amalgamates with the former God. This new God, his philosophy on the concept of God and existence, comes from a professor who is also one of the God candidates. I don't remember his name. I'm never good with names in these series. But anyway, this professor, he vehemently believes that God is a figment of human imagination, and that the reason why God is able to exist is because he's siphoning off of humanity's ideas of him. And he proposes the theory that if God were to disappear, nothing would happen to humanity. However, the new God, what he learns, completely subverts what he originally believed about life and existence, and that he learns from the former God's consciousness that not only did God create life, but life on the planet created him. Now, to some, this concept might be confusing, but when you look at the concept of time, while we think of it as occurring in a linear fashion, everything in time is occurring all at once, meaning past, present, and future are all converging right now into this moment. In other words, everything is happening all at the same time. So it makes sense that it can be said that the ending engenders the beginning, and the beginning engenders the end, because these are all convergences of the same thing. Something for you to think on. Anyway, the new God makes an incredibly bold decision, and ridiculous decision in my opinion, that effectively proves the professor's theory incorrect. All I can say is you'll have to see this for yourself in order to grasp how incredible this whole scenario was. They say that endings are designed to subvert expectations, according to some theories as to what the purpose of a fictional ending is supposed to espouse. But not only did this ending subvert expectation, but it goes back to the deeper purpose of a literary ending in that it leads the viewer back to the initial question that the series proposed. What is the purpose of life? As the series closes out, we see a conglomerate of souls, so to speak, or consciousness, speaking about existence and how living for eternity without death disavows them from the true experience of life because they can't die. And they say they are jealous of humanity's ability to die. Now, based off of my studies of esoteric readings and, of course, African history, this doesn't really make sense. Why? Gods wouldn't be jealous with regard to humanity's ability to die, because gods are nothing more than high-level values of the initial spark of consciousness that brought existence into being, and thus they can engender into an existence that grants them the experience of death, just like any other aspect of consciousness, including our own. Now, some of you might be saying, "What? How can you say that? You don't know that for sure." I encourage you to go read Journey of Souls. I'm not saying that it's the end of the argument or the question as to what happens at the end, but it's very interesting how this hypnotherapist arrives at the same conclusions that Africans arrived at through hundreds of years of experience as to what happens after death. That aside, I think this series does a very good job, especially in its closing, of pointing to an answer without giving you an exact answer as to what the purpose of life is. The purpose of life is so ordinary, so simple, that often it becomes complex in our mind. You're brought here, or rather you brought yourself here to find out what this existence means to you. That's all it is. This purpose can be as vast as the universe itself or as narrow as a small hole. It's completely up to you. Your purpose in this life is for you to find a meaning as to why you are here. And the natural proximity that we have to death affords us the awareness of time, and that one thing is assured from our very birth: death will find us one day. And what we do between the time that we live and eventually depart is where we find the answer to the question, why were we born? And hopefully, as you continue to look and seek out answers, you're able to pass on something before you leave, for which others can use to grow in their experience in life. And then, when you die, you move on to the next experience. Death isn't an end, it's just a doorway to experience. I think Platinum Men provides an incredible rendition of this philosophical concept. And another thing to note about finding this definition of life and what it means to you is that no answer is also an answer. So if you're in a space where you don't exactly know yet, and you're still figuring things out, guess what? That experience is still an answer to the question. Although it's ambiguous, that's still an answer. And in the ambiguity, as you continue to look at it and think on it, things become clearer and clearer. From some of the earliest ideas of how creation came into existence, the thing that brought forth the spark of consciousness that initiated the creation of life came from a combination of unconsciousness or nothing plus time. And this is an age-old formula whereby time coupled with unconsciousness over time eventually leads to a spark of consciousness. In other words, as you sit and ponder on something, eventually the solution becomes clear. But anyway, let me know what you thought about this ending. I think it was great. I think this was the best episode out of the entirety of the series. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Let me know what you think, or what in this current time do you believe the purpose of your life to be? How do you define this? Be sure to check out my other videos, like, subscribe, comment, etc. And I'm out. 1.